Good
So
morning.
Lewis managed to keep his own name.
Good afternoon. We're having this strange thing that everybody is Judy Neal. And so please change your name in Zoom so that we know who you are. And David, it's so good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm still getting over being
Oh,
called Judy Neal. What a privilege.
That's so funny. I was like, I couldn't figure out what was going on, but I'm sure happy to have all of you here. So I'm going to turn it over right away to Kristin Joy Ekkens, who's our certified Edgewalker facilitator that's hosting today's Edgewalker Cafe, and we're recording. The date is July 30th, 2026. Thank you, Kristin and Brian, for being our guests.
Absolutely, our pleasure. I'm going to say that on both of our behalfs, Brian. And then I'll let you talk in just a second as well. But it's truly a pleasure to be here, and we're excited to bring you some of our thoughts related to AI. But this is a different type of cafe. This isn't a full discussion, this is more of a co creation. So, our goal is actually to show you some of the ways that we've been using AI, and we both are going to show different platforms. We both probably can talk to most of the platforms, but today we'll each focus on a little area since we only have 60 minutes together. So we're not going to go into debates over AI and debates about is it good or bad. that's that's not our focus for today as edge walkers. We're going to actually show how edgy we can be and how it can actually, if we use AI for good, can help us be even more productive or creative or edgy in just our own experiences for Brian and myself. So that's what we'll share a little bit today. Again, I'll just very briefly introduce myself. I've met many of you, but again, as you're coming in, all of you are called Judy, and we were joking before this as this is the Judy Neal fan club. And it would be helpful if you change your name to what your name actually is so that we can have a conversation, call each other out. So if we haven't met before, it would be great to just be in here and have our discussion together. So please go ahead, change your name. Myself, so I'm Kristin Ekkens, Kristin Joy, and I have a company called Exponential Joy. And the brand that I've created around that is Joyous, the Joy operating system. So I help leaders, creators, so within companies and just creators outside of companies, consultants, coaches, figure out how to tap into that inner operating system and uncover the joy by removing joy drains. And I'll often use AI to help us remove the joy drains so that we can experience more joy. And I'm on a mission to help 1 billion people experience more joy. So, Brian, over to you.
I'm Brian Gorman, and I am working more and more at the intersection of artificial intelligence and human wisdom. AI is not going away. And so the question for me really is how do we use this as a resource to help us elevate humanity rather than suppress it? And at this point, my work involves coaching, it involves advising leaders, it involves facilitating leadership teams, it involves speaking, it involves writing. It involves a podcast, which is AI, or I'm sorry, Beyond AI, Wisdom at Work. And Kristin, back to you for our card drawing.
Amazing. So we're going to start with, sometimes in the cafes, we'll start with a moment of silence or a contemplative thought. We're going to start today with pulling from our deck that I think I just saw Amy Lynn Durham join, that she co-created with Judy. And so we've got our deck of cards here. If you haven't purchased this yet, you can get it, I believe, Judy. Yeah, Judy's as well. Judy, maybe you should pull it. I want you to pull it instead of me. That would be fun. Why don't you pull one for us? But we can get it on the website. Is that correct if people want it?
And it's on the Create Magic at Work website. Amy can put the link in, and the cards are beautiful. Amy did the artwork for this. I did the affirmations. They're just gorgeous and they have a good energy to them. So here's what I'll do. I'll shuffle the cards till somebody tells me to stop. So you can unmute to tell me to stop. I'm just going to keep shuffling till I hear stop.
Oh, stop. You already got the best one right there.
Right there. Is it the one on top?
That one, yeah.
All right, Lewis, thank you. Integrity, Lewis. This is integrity. On the back of these cards, it has one of the 5 Edgewalker qualities or 5 skills, and it defines it as so the definition of commitment in Edgewalker speak is a commitment to live in alignment with your core values, to align your words and your behavior, and to keep your word. And then this is the image that for integrity. And down at the bottom is the affirmation. And the affirmation is, I am trusting and trustworthy. I am
See,
trusting.
that's why I had to act so quickly. I knew that was the card.
You trusted your intuition.
Oh, in
So
integrity, absolutely.
that is our card today, to be trusting and trustworthy. So thank you, Kristin, for that request.
Yes. Thank you, Lewis. Good to see you. All right, let's dive into our topic. And before we do that, I think, Brian, I think it might be helpful if we understand maybe, what's the word for it? If you think, so everyone here, if you think about on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say, about how you interact with AI and I can't think of the word right now. Brian, you might need to fill in the gaps for me. Your current state with AI and how often you use it, how comfortable you feel with it. So let's say that as at a 1, and this is for the chat, so put this in the chat. At a 1, that means I actually, have only put one word into AI or haven't used it at all. That's a 1. If you go to a 10, that means I'm a super user and I use my terminal on my computer and I build everything with AI. That's a 10. So go ahead and take a moment. And there's zero judgment whatsoever, whether it's a 1 or a 10 or anywhere in between, zero judgment. This is just for us to understand how we talk about what we do. Okay, excellent. I see some coming in. Great. Excellent. And I would say even the absolute experts that I've met, I mean, when people say 10, a friend of mine recently said, some days I feel like I'm a full-on expert and, like full-on expert. And the next day I feel like I'm a novice. And I feel the same way, that there are times, I don't know if I'd call myself a full-on expert, but I do use my terminal on my computer. I have learned how to code in that way, but through AI coding. And at the same time, and I saw Brian, you kind of shake your head this way too, like, yes, things change every single day. So I might teach or learn something and the next day, all of a sudden a new feature appears. I'm like, well, that's helpful. I don't have to do that anymore. Now I can do this. So it's
Amy,
go ahead, Brian.
or Kristin, yeah, things change. And sometimes you learn, and I'm going to be covering this a little bit, you learn how stupid AI can be.
Yep. So this is why our human wisdom is incredibly important in the process and using the AI, as Brian would say as well. So let's this is helpful to see where everyone is. And Brian, would there be any other questions you'd want to ask before we dive in? Because, okay, I'm going to actually have you go first then, with about 15 to 20 minutes that Brian can show us some of what he is using and how he'll be focused more on ChatGPT. I'll be focused more on Claude. And so we'll show you 2 different platforms in a way, but just know this isn't a master class. This is more of a, here are some insights, some ways, and we may both have different ways that you can access a masterclass that we can share, or different ways to get involved if you're really interested in learning more about how we do it. But for now, my hope is that you can be, for those who said maybe 2 or 3, not to get overwhelmed by this, but just be open to what we're talking about in different use cases and be curious about how you might use it. But again, please put your questions, your comments, your ideas, things in the waiting room. I saw the waiting room pop up in the chat. Just please put any ideas and thoughts and questions, because both of us are on here and can react to those as well. So Brian, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Kristin. So I actually yesterday recorded a podcast that with a gentleman who has been working in the world of artificial intelligence for over 4 decades. So as new as this seems to us, and as exponentially as it is now growing, the field of artificial intelligence has been developing for a long, long time. It really jumped into my foreground, along with all of us, it jumped into at least our background when ChatGPT was launched, but became a real obsession is not the word, but a real area of focus for me when I began to hear that artificial intelligence is going to replace all entry-level accountants in the next 5 years, or all entry-level lawyers in the next 5 years, or all of other professions. And then I heard a technology CEO say, well, AI is going to be able to replace me. And it just sounded wrong. And so I began to think about it, began to research, and even asked ChatGPT as I was writing my book. What really jumped out to me was that there's intelligence and there's wisdom. And they're 2 different things. They're certainly related, but they're 2 different things. Our wisdom comes from our life experiences, our learned experiences. Our wisdom is where we develop discernment, judgment, learn to make ethical choices, even when they may not be the most economically favorable for a business, and so forth. And so that's the intersection that I focus on in the work that I do today. How do we acknowledge that this technology is here, and it is going to continue to grow and develop, and not give our own humanity away to it, but rather use our humanity to elevate it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to, for those of you who haven't gone into ChatGPT, or maybe you have, to tell you a little bit about generally how to use it, and then I will get into some specific ways in which I'm using it. And then finally, recommend one other thing, but let me find the screen that I'm looking for here. I know I have it open. Not sure where it is.
I love that when screens move every time, like you join Zoom and all of a sudden it's like, where did that go? I know it was right here.
This is not the one I want. Sorry.
No worries.
Let me open it up to this one, since it seems to be on top. A little bit out of order, but and I'll ask Lewis if he wants to share a comment here. There's a gentleman named Jeff Birmingham who wrote a book called The Last Book Written by a Human. I can promise you it's not, because he's writing another book right now. But Jeff really writes and thinks about how AI can uplift humanity across politics, religion, culture, society, not just organizations. And he's starting what he calls the after intelligence community. And one of the things that the community does is each month they give you a prompt to help use AI to dig deeper into yourself. And that's just one way in which we can use this technology, not as a therapist, not as a coach, but as a reflective tool to go deeper into ourselves. And his URL is just jeffburningham.com.
Brian, you asked, so I'm going to answer. I did not only have a wonderful hour with him, thanks to Brian, but I then immediately bought his book and read all of it and listened to all 14 of his short uh, um, sessions that he put on video. And the bottom line is, I hadn't thought about it this way until now, but it's not ironic that he uh, is uh, is helping us the same way he had to help himself discover his own inner humanity, because he had been highly successful in finances and investment and startups and made lots and lots and lots of money until one day he was holding his daughter and looking in his daughter's eyes. And any of us whose parents knows this moment and went, "Oh, oh, where have I been?" And and that helped him say, you know what? I'm dropping out of my. Now, when you have enough money to be able to drop out, we can smile and say that was easy. However, he did. He's dropped out and he's just doing the inner work and sharing it in his book and in his websites and everything. And it's an example of what we can do with AI, exactly what he has done with his own left brain. That's a short version, but nice guy.
Thank you, Lewis. So let's go to ChatGPT. And the first thing, and I'm going to put some what I'm walking through now into the chat before the session ends. But I want to start with really protecting your own information in ChatGPT. And to do that, once you are in, you go to wherever your name is down in the lower left-hand corner, you go to settings and you go to data controls and make sure that you turn off improve the model for everyone. What that does is make sure that whatever information you are putting in is protected and does not become part of the information that ChatGPT and other AI platforms begin to incorporate into their large language models. Very simple.
Brian, thank you, because for all the rest, like I, who have never seen that or turned it off, we're going to do that the minute this session is over.
I actually learned that on a webinar with Alicia Little, and the document I'm going to put in has a link to her YouTube channel because she has lots of great information on how to use ChatGPT. You can also train it to write in your style, not just keep feeding it stuff. But and these are directions also in the document I'm going to hand out. You put your bio or resume in, just using this little plus button, and any additional examples of your writing. And then there's a prompt, and I'm just going to read it. Don't worry about writing it down. It will be in the document. You enter a prompt. I would like you to write as my ghostwriter. I have given you my bio resume, and I'm attaching X number of things that I've written so that you can learn about me and learn about my writing style so that you can write for me as me. Do you understand? And then after you get through that, you ask it, how would you describe my writing style, tone, content, phrases that I use, and how I start and end my writing? And I have to tell you, I learned something about my own writing style when I did that. And you can always go in and revise that. But what I want to now talk about, first of all, is
Can I ask you a question?
yes,
Will I? When I submit some writings to like magazines or Chicken of the Soul or something like that, they say to me, don't use AI at all. Okay. Is there a way that they can tell that I've used it if AI is going to be my ghostwriter?
the question is maybe, or the answer is maybe. There are certainly screens, if you will, that have been developed to screen for whether something has written by AI. The most recent thing I've seen says those screens are based on well-educated English writing, and it lets quote good writing through while rejecting more atypical writing styles. So I don't know. I've actually tested one where I was submitting something to a journalist and ran it against their screen, and it said it was 100% written by a human. It was 100% written by AI. So I don't know. The answer is, whether you want to take a risk or not. Related to that, Amy, I use AI to start my drafts, and then I go in and I rewrite them. How to write a prompt. Here's something that I learned that's very helpful. Write down what you want to ask. So let me get out of here for a minute and just ask anyone for something you would want to research in ChatGPT.
Health. My health.
What would the prompt be, Lewis? Except it's going to answer about my health.
I can come up with one if that's easier.
Go ahead, Ann.
Yeah, sorry, my dog just decided to bark. But how do you attract buyers and sellers in the real estate market in Philadelphia?
So here is what you do. Once you have your prompt, you add the following. We're not actually going to produce the result at this point, but what 3 questions can I answer for you in order to get the best result? And again, because this is designed to both keep us happy, if you will, and keep us engaged, I also will often add, I only want the best response you can give me the first time. And now it will come back with 3 questions. Which parts of the market do you want to own? Neighborhoods, property types, price ranges, and so forth. Why should someone choose you instead of another agent? And what resources and traction do you already have? So asking it to ask you questions allows it to really focus in much more fully on your particular need, if you will. So with that, I want to go to agents. And in chat, we go to more and we go to GPTs. That's what they label their agents. And they now have numerous different agents already developed that you can use. But I want to talk about developing your agent. So I go up to the upper right and my GPTs, and we're going to, if we have time, look at two of them. I do a lot of 360 reports as a part of my coaching process. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I'll interview about 10 people, 10 to 12 people, about the person I'm going to be coaching. And I have a structured set of questions that give me the kind of information I need in order to have a good, solid idea of where they would most benefit from coaching. I developed this report synthesizer so that I don't need to take pages and pages and pages of interview notes and look for the patterns and draw things out and find the quotes and everything else. So I actually set up what is called an agent in ChatGPT. It's called a GPT to do that for me. And you'll see on the right hand or on the left hand side, I've got a name, I've got a description, I've got a set of instructions. Here's one of the places where ChatGPT can be very stupid. The client that I'm currently working with added a set of competencies to the leadership model that we're already using. I asked ChatGPT to compare the competencies to the model, leadership model, say which one should I use. And so it came back and it said on the first leadership expectation, which is preparing team members, doing everything you can to prepare team members for success, the competency model is very strong. On the second, which is get out of the way and keep the road clear ahead, the competency model is accurate. And on the third leadership expectation, which is succession planning, the competency model stinks. Didn't use that word, but that was basically what it was saying. I then said, okay, give me a revised set of instructions for a report that integrates the two. Because here we have the set of instructions for running the report. It came back and I looked through the instructions, I made some changes and so forth, and I copied and I pasted them in here. And it came back and said something to the effect, and I honestly don't remember whether it was characters or words, but let's say it was characters. The limit for the instructions is 8,000 characters. You entered 16,000. Well, I only entered what Chat had told me to enter. So I had to go through and work on revising the instructions. And each time I asked it to revise and tell me what it was taking out, it brought it down until we finally met the limits here. But along with instructions, we have different pieces of knowledge. So the values for this customer, the leadership framework we're going to use, the competencies we're going to use, all of those got pulled out of the model. And then I gave it additional formatting instructions. So let me show you what came out of that analysis strictly as it came out. Now I have to go through, I have to edit this, I have to format it and so forth, but it gives me the report that I want. It gives me how was this report developed, what underlies it, an executive summary, including what do others value most in this leader, what are their greatest opportunities for development, what do we need to focus on coaching. leadership strengths, what others value about his integrity and personal credibility, his impact. It gives us quotes. Now, I might come in, this is one of the reasons why it's so important to edit, why it's so important to use your discernment, your judgment. This quote, I instructed it to choose representative quotes, but let's say this quote started, he is value living. That may be the way one person spoke. And I don't want to identify who the quotes are from. So I would have to come in and either, paraphrasing a respondent or find a different quote that spoke to that. So the report ends up being exactly the kind of information I want. Again, I need to format it. I need to read it. I need to make sure that I agree with the conclusions about here it's comparing his performance to the competency model. And then it gives us where we need to focus. I asked for 3 priorities in the focusing program. So that's one example of a GPT. I'm going to just briefly show you a different example and then turn it back over to Kristin. And I will put this in the link for this in the chat as well. I do a lot of what I call superhero coaching. Our superheroes are the people who we really aspire to something about them. So I typically say, name 5 superheroes. And then after I get those 5 names, I say, what about them makes them a superhero for you? Well, somebody may say my mother because she strove through a lot of challenges in her life. Someone else may point to your mother or the same woman and say because she loves her children above everything else. In this GPT, this agent, if you will, you name 5 or more of your superheroes, and it will develop for you a superhero council that gives you a series of superheroes. And they might be comic book, they might be living, they might be historical figures, but it will give you a council of superheroes so that you can say, when I'm facing this situation, what would Queen Elizabeth counsel me to do? What would Batman do in this situation, and so forth? So if you want to play with your own superhero council, again, I'll put the link in the chat. Note that I do not have access to what you do here. And with that, unless there are any questions, I will turn it back to Kristin.
Yeah, let's pause for questions if there are any. We could take just a few minutes for Brian before I jump in.
I have one. One of the first things you said is about how to make sure everything we put in stays in only our file, not in the world's wisdom. And I can't find that. Is it easy for you to either show us now or put it in chat?
I'll put it in chat. Yeah, it'll be in that Word document that I put in chat.
Any other questions?
I'll go through and answer the answer any questions in chat when we get done, but why don't you take over here, Amy?
All right, that sounds great. So I'm going to move us into the space of Claude. I've used both ChatGPT extensively and Claude extensively, as well as a few of the others. I'll just mention, which I didn't mention in the beginning. So I have a certificate or a certification in AI mastery, it's called. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, saying mastery when it comes to AI, I think those two things don't really go together in this moment. But I did that through Mind Valley. And it was a 6-month program that I started last August, and I completed this past January. Went very deep to understand, especially for creators, what are some of the tools out there? And I learned from experts around the world on how to do this. Well, what it actually taught me, and I think this is one of the most important things about AI, is you just learn how to work with it, because any questions that you have, you can ask it. You can say, tell me how to do this, show me how to do this. And it's really, and I think it was Joy earlier asked about, so is it really about conversation? I'm going to tell you a few and show you a few of my use cases with AI. I often will use it in conversation, but not only in conversation. But this morning, while I was walking my dog, yes, I was actually, it looked like I was on a phone call. I had my phone in my pocket, my AirPods in, and I'm walking my dog, and I was actually talking with Claude. And it's Claude responding back to me in voice. And so it actually, when I said, so I was actually in the process of figuring out a structure for my book. And I said, so what about this? And this is what I'm thinking, but something's off about this piece of it. And I actually, and I'll show you some of the conversation I had, and it records the conversation so that I don't have to type notes about it or anything. It's all there for me. So my use cases with AI are very from personal, saying like, hey, Claude, I'm going to show you a picture of my fridge and my pantry. And can you please help me figure out a really delicious recipe to cook in 15 minutes? And I am cooking for just myself and one of my sons. But remember, I'm gluten and dairy free. And he's not. And so then it will come up with something, and 9 times out of 10, I will say, wow, I never thought of adding that. And that was the secret ingredient. So things as small as that, it will take things and say, that looks like it might be some sort of lamb potentially. You're right. How did you know that versus beef? It just is wild to me. And at the same time, I also use it to create proposals, contracts, things that for me have been joy drains because they take so much time but are so important and necessary to my business. So I want to know from you, before I actually show you some of the things that I've created and then show you briefly one way to do it, in the chat, tell me, when you think about a joy drain, something that has drained you of your joy, whether it's on personal, like making a meal, or in business, doing, and be specific, some sort of admin. What kind of admin? Like, what is it that actually drains your joy when you think about either personal or work side? Something in life. I'm going to wait for a few of these to come in. Feel free to take a moment. Mm-hmm. Dawn, I feel that one. Creating a filing system that works. Jane, I feel that one too. Doing my tax return. I feel that one multiple times, it feels. What else? Okay, Margot. Yes. Policies that were written by different departments in the workspace. Absolutely. Figuring out, okay, what's the coherence here? We've got a lot of different policies happening, a lot of different departments, not always communicating together on this. Writing a newsletter, Judy. Yes. Consistency, taking the time to actually write it, think of the concepts for it over and over and over again. we might be very creative people, us Edgewalkers. And at the same time, there's that piece of how to put it out to the world in a way that's in our own voice as well. Okay, Brian, yes, personalizing emails to different journalists. Ooh, that's a good one. Starting a piece of inspirational artwork. Ooh, I love that, Jane. Okay, yes, we see them coming in. So, and too, yes, statistics and organizing those. So there's a lot of different things that AI can actually help us with. I'm going to just show you just some of the things that I've created using Claude. Now, if you don't have Claude, the same thing applies if you have Claude, that there is a button that you have to tick to say, don't use my information in your models. Same thing applies to Claude as it does ChatGPT. What I'm going to show you, the Claude, there's a few different things. Here, I'm going to share my whole desktop so we can just kind of bounce between. All right, can you see a website there? All right, thanks, Judy. So this website, I had a conversation, just briefly describe this. I had a conversation with a strategic partner. It's someone who says, hey, we work with organizations and we may bring you in as a facilitator or a coach or a consultant on our behalf or in partnership with us. Do you have something that would show your core competencies? I'm like, well, yeah, I'll show you this. I've got a CV, like a resume that I send out for the corporate world when they may want to work with me. It's got my profile summary, all the descriptions, all the things. Yeah, I've got this. No, they said, no, we mean like just your 8 core competencies. I'm like, oh, that's specific. Okay, let me figure out. So here's what I did. This took me all of 15 minutes. I took my resume, and I put it into Claude. And I said, hey, Claude, can you create, and I always speak into Claude instead of typing everything. I said, can you please create the core strengths and competencies of mine using this resume and anything else you know about me? I'm specifically focused, though, for organizations and not for the creators' work that I've done. And here's a picture I want you to use. This is what it spit out. Here are my core strengths. And it stopped here. And I said, ooh, let's add just a little bit. Let's add my certification and education. And then I said, and let's add the as seen in. And I grabbed a picture of it and put that in, because the first as seen in it gave me it said TEDx and it said something else. I was like, God, that doesn't make sense here. Just put this stuff in. And this is what it came out with. This was all within 10 minutes of that conversation, that then I could quickly send it over to the client. And then I said, well, I actually want another version of this. Let's make one that is for joy and as a social entrepreneur. So in the same conversation, I said, excellent. Now let's create something different using some of that same content, but make it for showing that my mission is to help 1 billion people experience more joy. Use this picture. And this is what it created. Now, it's not quite what I want it to be yet. I still need to riff on it, but that took me 2 minutes to put the prompt in to change it. And then this came out. I'm telling you this and showing you this to show, if you haven't done this before, the more that you can put in the prompt to give it information to help it put a better output to you, is it will make it easier. If you just say, create something, create a profile for me, but give it no direction, it will create something, but you may not love it. And it's okay to iterate. This is what I love too, as an Edgewalker, to iterate with. For me, it is so much fun. I find joy in iterating with Claude and going back and forth and figuring out what we want. Here's another thing that I created just quickly. This was yesterday. I have a partnership with a company called Hope and Kindness. It's blockchain. And we're working together to help. I said, okay, I've got to tell a story behind this on how exponential joy relates to blockchain and why people might want to be involved in this. And I came up with this. It took me probably an hour because I massaged it quite a bit. And I wanted to tell the story in the best way. But I used Claude, not Claude Design. I will talk about that in 1 second. Claude to actually go in and just say, okay, help me think of this. Talk about it as a joy drain when there's insecurity and when files aren't being shared securely. Now think about it in terms of this example and this example. And I'm speaking into it, just giving examples of where I have felt a joy drain recently, like working with a mortgage company. And here they ask me to share a bank, right? They ask me to share all of this sensitive information. Like, I need a secure link to do that. Yeah, we'll send it to you. Send it to me, and it's super clunky. I'm like, I have a better link than that. Let me send you my link and we'll share it this way. But that's one of the ways that if I feel like, or on my coaching call, I had a VP of HR say, I'm really nervous that people in my company will access my recordings or my notes. So can you please just send it to my personal email? And even then, like, no trace, no contact with my business email. This is where the drain is when we have these deep conversations that are supposed to be built on trust in what we do, but then if they're concerned about information getting leaked. So these are types of things that we can create really quickly. And even in the joy drains that you've mentioned, admin work, all of this, we can create proposals. This is a concept proposal that I created quickly. You can also create slides. And this is where I want to just spend a few more minutes on looking at with slides. If you haven't done it this way before, I will say I've spent hours of time in the past making every little detail look nice because I love design. I like things to look good. And guess what? That was procrastination. I'll be the first to claim that. Second, now we don't need to do that. So let me show you let me see, I'm going to reshare a different screen. And tell me, in the chat here, if this is helpful to see, because I'm going to actually show you my Claude. And when you go into Claude Design, here we go. Okay, can you see my Claude now? Okay, so when we come in here into Claude, this is actually showing you some of the ways that I use it. This is, an Arabic greeting response translation, right? Because I work around the world and someone sent me a message in Arabic and I said, ooh, okay, let me see. I speak Spanish and English, not Arabic, but I have studied some Arabic, but I don't know well enough how to respond to that. So let me check this, and guess what? It can be wrong. So be careful on that as well. But what I want to show you here is when you're in Pro, this is a distinction. If you have not paid for Claude, you can still do what I showed you a second ago, because I just put it right here in the chat. You can also put it here in co-work and it will do things for you, but even just putting it in chat, it will help you build things. It will help you create those follow-ups. I spoke into this again and I said, okay, help me create a follow-up to Megan and Mercedes, because I have proposals out to them. And it had already the information of the proposals, so it wrote those emails for me. That was in co-work. But when you come in here, and if you have a paid version, you're going to see something down at the bottom called design. Design is a next level of being able to create your slides very quickly. I've created some slides amazingly fast, but what I want us to do here, I was thinking, Judy, if it's okay with you, because I know we're limited on some time, in our co-creation here, I was trying to think of something for Edgewalkers that we could create that would be for us Edgewalkers. And just, I'll start it off here and I can polish it later for us. But Judy, I found a document for the poetry that you've created. Is that something that I can use and put in here and see what comes out?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, what I wouldn't do is because it's got copyright issues,
Mm-hmm.
You know, you would just be careful of using someone else's work and making it look like your own. So there's that ethical issue to pay attention to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here, so this is the PDF that, let's see, hold on, put it on the right screen so you can see. Can you see that now, the Edgewalker poetry? Okay. So this is the PDF that Judy compiled. And again, everything in here, Judy, I'm putting in just as you have it. So permissions have not been sought for these poems. So let's all of us know this, and we'll decide if we can use this afterward or not. I just wanted us to see a visual of what it could look like. So let me go ahead. I'm moving it off screen so we can go into the Claude. So here in Claude, what I would actually do is take exactly this. I'm pulling it over here, dropping the PDF in. Okay. Let me see if it did it. All right, let's see. Oh, I did it twice. There we go. That's why. Okay. And like I mentioned, I speak into it. So usually, and this is called vibe coding when you do this. When you vibe code, you can actually tell it to do things. Let me see if I'm able to do it this way while we're all on here together. Hey, Claude, I want you to help me create something here that's taking this PDF and just making it more beautiful. Can you do that for me? Oh, es que hablo español también, entonces. I speak Spanish as well, so it translated it into Spanish for me. Hold on. That's not going to work for this call right now. Okay, let's see. All right, let me just type it in for the time being, because I know we don't have much time. Create, recreate. Anyone want to add something to this prompt? Feel free to take yourself off mute while I'm typing in here. If there's something else we should add to it.
Remove duplicates.
Okay. Create the PDF. Okay. I'm going to say use the Edgewalker look and feel from the website. Is this right, Judy?
Yes.
Okay. And the design system, we're just going to go, so you can create your own design systems. If you have a brand guide, or if you just create that, that's not part of this class here right now, but let's go with the modernist and see what it does for us. And let's just go for it. Let's see what happens. This is what I find is a lot of fun, when we can just kind of see. I mean, it's kind of edgy to see, like, okay, this could be really bad, guys. I don't know. We're going to find out in the moment. And if it is, that's fine. We just recreate it again. That's the fun of this. All right, while it's pulling this up, I'm going to look at chat here. Just see if there are any questions that you have for me too while it's building. So right now, feel free to take yourself off mute. If there are any questions related to Claude Design, I know I used it very quickly, but just to show you, this can help us produce artifacts in a way that sometimes Claude can't, because it's very custom to design work. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Kristin.
Yeah, Amy.
I've been using chat. So is Claude so much better than chat that I should now have to learn a whole new system?
They both have their own use cases. I will say that. I switched over to Claude more of from the decisions that OpenAI was making at the time in January. And so I said, you know, I'd prefer to use Claude and Anthropic as a company. So that's one of the reasons I switched. But I found, now that I've gone really deep in the co-work, that's been helpful. You don't have to switch, though. There are certain things, like with remodeling my home, OpenAI and in using ChatGPT, that worked a lot better. So often people I know in AI use multiple platforms, not just one. But if you want to be simplistic with it, I would say the number one thing is don't switch constantly. That's going to be the hardest thing, is switching.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a quick look at this, because I know we'll be out of time shortly. So a few decisions we have to make. So it's going to ask that. Do we want a print ready book? And someone shout out when you're seeing these questions, whoever answers first gets it. Scrolling digital reader, or do we want a slide deck? Shout it out. Slide deck. All right, here we go. And how much of the content stays? Is it everything, all 90 poems? Or do we make it a light curation? The best curated, best 30 poems.
Best 30 poems.
Okay, sounds good. And then, we've got a lot. So I may say, decide for me here in the structure. For the imagery, we want some abstract rules, let's say. We'll just, let's see, the front piece. Decide for me. No, we want this internal use notice, right, Judy? And we're giving you credit as well as we do that. And then the Edgewalker quotes. Let's see. See, this is what I like. And if you don't like it when it comes out with it, decide for me, then you can always change it. So here we go. Let's see. Decide for me. And let's just say continue.
Hey, Kristin,
Yeah.
Wouldn't it pull in pictures if you said pull in pictures? And where are they coming from? Can you use them, or are they copyrighted, or do you know?
Good question. So you can, often if you're pulling in pictures, it's creating the pictures. So it's the AI pictures it's creating. But when I do pull in, I actually bring in my own pictures often. Okay. So that's the best way to do this for if you're creating something on your own, if you can use your own creations. And this goes even for voice recordings and things like that. For music, if you're to create it using AI music, using your own voice always goes back to it being your own product.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's still searching. Now, what we may have to do if this ends, and I can stay over a few minutes, of course, but if other people need to leave, what I'll do is send this out through Judy. She can decide if we don't see it fast here. It does take a few minutes to create these, but you can see that we can move quickly by dropping more information in here. You can drop websites in, you can drop pictures in. You can even just take a picture or your logo and drop it in and say, pull the colors from that. You don't have to have full brand guidelines for everything. So these are some of the ways that you can, it's coming. I talked long enough that we have our 1 minute left. So remember, we said do it in slides. This is the 2025 edition. Okay. It also gave us some speaker notes, of course, because we're going to need to do that. This is like if we had a poetry session then together and we all chose one that then afterward we have a lot of fun and each person reads one of the poems. It could be a fun in the moment thing. Now look what it's created. This is real time. And of course, I would change the colors and add the logo and all of that for Edgewalkers. Come to the edge. Whoa, it created movements. The first 5 poems are about coming to the edge. What do you think? Okay, and then it's got each one, and it tells at the very top who it's from. Mary Oliver's here at the top. Okay, the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. So what do you think about this, everyone? Is this helpful to see?
That's
I think
amazing.
it's great. Yeah.
Wow.
And we have a copy.
Knowing
that it's all,
Once it's all done, but Judy, I'll run it past you first to make sure you're good with it, because it will say that you've created, and in the beginning, make sure that it says we haven't asked permission. But I'll change it to Edgewalker colors and can send it out if that works for you, Judy.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is the simplest way that if you have things that you're pulling together, that you can just create something that looks like you've spent hours on it.
That's amazing. Wow.
So I know this was just a very quick showing of what it can do. But there's so much more in there. If you want to go deeper with me, I actually am launching different master classes related to going deep for us to be able to understand it. My email address is here in my name, but I'll put it in. And this is like how do we, my goal is to help teach others what I've learned that created value for me and removed some of the joy drains so that I can experience more joy, be out in nature, do more creative work, paint, things like that. So hopefully this served. Judy, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Kristin and Brian. This is, yeah, it's like I just can't wait to play in the sandbox after learning these things. And I took a Joy Operating System course from Kristin last winter that also taught how to create daily tasks, daily inspirational prompts that have become my spiritual practice. So I highly recommend Kristin as a teacher of AI and also Brian as a coach around the difference between AI and wisdom. So I'm really grateful to both of you for these incredible sharings. And Amy, I know you had an announcement to make, so we'll do quick announcements and then we'll wrap it up. Amy Bernstein? I see you
Hi.
put.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and it kind of goes along with today, on August 5th, Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, I'm doing a webinar, 1 hour webinar, Leading Under Pressure in the Age of AI. How to think clearly, make better decisions, and stay resilient when everything is moving faster. I know some of you have been interested in my embodiment work. I recognize that wisdom is not just something I get with self-awareness. It's something that I need to sense, feel, intuit, use my perceptions, my other perceptions, which has become extraordinarily important in the age of AI. So if you want to experience this work, it's 1 hour. It's only $24 so that people can taste it. And the link is in the chat. It's womensmasteryinstitute.com, but men are invited. You know, it's no big deal. So I hope you'll join me. And if you have any questions, get in touch with me.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can you put your email in the chat too, Amy?
Yep, I will. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. My announcement is that our next Edgewalker Cafe is August 27th, and it's going to be hosted by a certified Edgewalker facilitator, Allison Godfrey. Her guest is Gwen Osterbahn, and they are going to be presenting a change management organizational case, a client they've been working with around the archetypes of change and some of the things they've learned. So taking a look at how do edge walkers use some of our concepts and resources with organizational clients. So I think that's going to be fascinating. So that's August 27th at 11 a.m. Eastern. And if you're subscribed to the newsletter, you'll get the link about where it is and when it's happening. So anybody else have any announcements? Well, then I think we will wrap this up and say again to Kristin and Brian, thank you so much for an exciting and very practical session. It's extremely helpful, and we're very grateful.
Truly my pleasure.
Oh, thank you. If you want to save the chat, look at the 3 dots on the upper right-hand side, and that will save the chat. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.